I'm making breakfast for dinner like Mom used to do for me. But I'm taking this one up a notch. Steak and eggs. I'm gonna do this porcini crusted ribeye with this beautiful fat cap on here. It's marbled. It is going to be absolutely juicy. So I'm gonna get started on my rub that's gonna go on the outside of my ribeye. Okay, you know I gotta add my house seasoning. That's paprika, salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. I'm gonna add about 3 tablespoons of that to my food processor. I'm gonna add some dry porcini mushrooms. It's very earthy. It has a natural umami. All right, so I'm just gonna pulverize this and get it nice and fine. So I'm gonna take my spice blend right here, my porcini mushrooms, and what I like to do is put a little soy sauce, and that's gonna give it some of that same natural umami that's inside of mushrooms. I like to put a little balsamic on both sides as well. I like to add balsamic on there because it gives it some sweetness, a little tang. Lay it flat, make sure you press down, and flip it over. You see how nice and crusty that is now? Ribeye is my favorite cut of meat. It has the perfect amount of marbled fat throughout it. The bone in, of course, because the bone in adds more flavor. And right before I add the steak inside my cast iron skillet here, I'm gonna hit it with a little salt and pepper, just enhance everything that I've already done. A little butter. I wanna add a really nice amount of butter to my hot skillet. Now, the reason why I'm adding so much butter, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of butter. I'm gonna baste the steak in the butter, a little rosemary. You're infusing the butter with flavor. The flavor from the steak, the flavor from the garlic, the flavor from the rosemary, a little extra salt, a little pepper. I wanna put this down first, this side down, because I did salt and pepper on that. I wanna make sure I get a nice sear on both sides, so you need high heat to do that. If you like medium to medium well, that's anywhere between 140 and 150 degrees. It's gonna take about 6 minutes for that side to cook. And while that's cooking, I'm gonna get started on my fried egg. I wanna get some of this butter, and I'm gonna do it sunny side up. And that yolk is gonna also act as a sauce for the steak. While that butter is melting, I'm gonna flip this beautiful piece of steak. I'm gonna baste this side as well, get that flavor, that infused butter. Okay, now back to the egg. The eggs are sunny side up. What I like to do is cook that egg white and leave the middle of the yolk nice and runny. Add a little salt and more black pepper. All right, so my eggs are perfect. I'm just gonna slide this right onto the plate. All right, so I'm gonna let this chill out over here and check on my steak. And I'm doing the poke test. If it has a lot of bounce back, that means it's still pretty much rare in the center. So I want a little firmness. I think this is pretty done. Get my cutting board here, my chopping block, and let it rest. When it rests, it allows the juices to return to the meat. If you cut it right now, all of the juices will just release and you'll have a very dry steak. So it's important to let your steak rest. And while that rests, let me get my eggs in a platter to serve this on. All right, so there is a technique to cutting a really great steak. You wanna make sure that you cut against the grain. Slightly pink in the center, nice and charred on the outside. Oh my gosh, smells good. And you see how juicy it is? A little dark on the outside, the center is pink, it's juicy, it's crusty, it's gonna melt in our mouths. As a matter of fact, ooh-wee. So I'm gonna put this on my serving platter, add the eggs, and there you have it. Steak and eggs for dinner.